Good morning, everyone. This is the Abundance Book Club. I am here with Holly Vaughn this morning. We are going to be talking about our book for December. This is actually the last day we're talking about it, The Audacity to Be Queen. Hopefully you've been reading with us. If you have not, oh my goodness, you're missing out. Good morning, Holly. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning. Good morning. I love this book. I love this book. She has so many things that have been so empowering. And it's like, yes, yes, queen.
Yes, exactly. So if you are, for everybody watching, if you are somebody who loves spiritual leadership, if you love personal development, if you're building a business or you are building something that you are here to create in the world, like you're really moving towards your calling, this book is massively inspiring and beneficial on so many levels. Today, we're going to be talking about creating miracles and bending time and space. Such a great conversation. I know this is one of your favorites, Holly.
Like, my plate is so full. Let's expand it some more. Right?
Yes. What else can I do? Yeah. So she talks a lot about it. Again, read the book, get the book. It is so good. But I'll just share like one of the things that really shifted for me several years ago was, you hear about manifesting, you hear about creating miracles and all these things. And ultimately it isn't until we are intentional about it, and we're going to get into intention as well. But until we're intentional about it and we're really practicing it, that we really understand it, begin to understand it. And I won't even use the word understand. We begin to understand it because I believe we are just on the cusp. Even, all the studies that have been done on quantum physics, we're just on the cusp of really even having a clue. So beginning to understand it, it really takes stepping in and holding that intention and practicing.
And I am such a science nerd too. So I play in both fields, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm such a science nerd about it. And I love like the work of Joe Dispenza. He's done a lot of work where it's like he's mixing the metaphysical with the physical science. And it's so cool to see. It's like, yeah, no, we've done an MRI on the brain and we've seen or we've done an EKG of the brain and seen EKG is not correct, but anyway, EEG of the brain to see like what happens with your alpha waves and your theta waves and all of these things that happens right after you meditate. And just, it's so cool to see that what people are seeing as very kind of woo woo and manifestation is also backed in the scientific world as like, no, literally physically, here's what happens to your body when you do this. It's the coolest thing to meld those two together. So
yeah, I'm the same. Like, I don't believe in things just because somebody says believe in them.
Right. Exactly.
Like, tell me more. Yes, the science is there. Quantum physics is something that's been studied for quite some time. I love Joe Dispenza's work because he really goes, he's really bringing it into how our brain and how our mind interacts with those things. And I just like to bring it like to a very basic level. Like if you're picking up a cell phone and you are using a cell phone that is attached to nothing, that there are we've all have science classes, even the most basic science classes, we talk about the waves, the wavelengths that we cannot see, that information travels on. So we know that it's there. It's really how to interact with it ourselves that's being studied, right? And there's a lot of it that's being studied, right? Technology itself continues to grow and develop. So all of it is being studied, but it is something that, yes, scientifically is sound and we get to enjoy and have fun with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just, when you dig into work like this, it's like you realize how powerful you really are. It's kind of one of those things where you're like, ooh, I unlocked a whole new room of, ooh, wow, I didn't realize I could do that. Like, I didn't know I could create that.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It really is. And, to me, it comes back to that we are created in the image of the creator. If you're spiritual, you in some way believe, even though we evolve, we change, we grow, all of the things, if you're spiritual, that, or you believe that, we're created in the image of the creator. So we do have that creative source, that creative life source. And we are learning again, how to really work with the universe in the way that nature does. really the way that nature does, the way that an acorn becomes a giant oak tree. So it's so fun. And I'll just say for me, there is this deep, when I'm in my deep knowing, when I'm clear, of course, meditation is a way to open that up. It's very powerful for those that can. I was not somebody who could just focus on my breath. So I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's work where he's really like bringing you into the
Guiding
body.
you.
Yes, because it's not, the breath, all the breath does is maybe get your mind to quiet. That's my experience of it. Maybe. And my mind is not quiet. So that didn't work for me. But
Mine either.
It was a great step, right? Somebody was bringing us down this path that we're now down with Dr. Joe Dispenza, bringing us into like the deeper parts of mind and the body. And anyway, meditation really supports me in starting my day and living my day from that space. And then the deep knowing, like really knowing. So I want to dive into intention and knowing. We talk about meditation a little bit too. I know that's an important piece, but intention and then knowing are two powerful keys to creating clearly. And some people will wake up in the morning and set their intention and write it down in a book. I love that way of doing it. Holly, do you have a specific way of setting intentions?
I waffle. I have never been really super consistent with things, and that gets to change. But I have written down intentions. I have been in containers where I've had accountability partners and, read a voice memo every morning and just be like, hey, my intention today is to create da, 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 and then check in at the end of the day, which is really what ends up becoming very powerful about what did I even say I was intending to do this morning? Like, what was that intention this morning? And then like, did I win? Did I not win? Like, how did I create that? Ooh, where did I fall flat? Where do I get to resituate that? What worked, what didn't work? So looking at that, I think that has been the most powerful way for me as far as setting intentions, is just being in a container with people that can help you hold accountable, and being in a container where you're supported. I think that's a major difference. And when you have that container, right, whether you're afraid of somebody calling you forward for not being in excellence with that or not, or whether it's just a matter of, I know I'm accountable to these people, so I'm going to step up. Yes. I think it's a benefit for all whenever
having
you can
that
do
accountability and the support. Absolutely. I love that you're talking about being in the practice, because it's all practice. It is 100% and always practice. We're always practicing. And for me, the practice has been just in the moment to moment, right? I'm in the car and then something happens, or I'm, things aren't moving the way that I want them to. My brain moves into frustration. And then it's that pause and going, what do I want to create? What is my intention in this moment? I remember a time where my husband and I were arguing about something, and I paused and I go, what is my intention here? Like, what do I really want? Do I want to be right?
Kudos to you for being able to do that.
Well, and and it's a practice. But
I was going to say, I'm like, in the middle of an argument, that is not where my mind goes.
I have something to say. Yeah, but right, it's in those pauses that we can actually shift, not just time and space, but shift energy, shift people, shift outcomes.
Yes.
And so if we are anytime, every time we're in a moment where something is showing up that we don't want, if we get caught in that momentum, we will create what we don't want.
Absolutely. 100%.
But when we pause and we go, what do I really want here? What am I creating? What do I want to create? What am I creating? That line, I'm just going to pause on that one, because what am I creating is powerful, but it can also go, oh yeah, I'm creating what I don't want. And I'm a big fan of just shift into what you want. Like, what do I want to create? What's the outcome that I want here? And then holding that intention, everything that we say, everything that we do moves towards that.
Exactly. If we have our eyes on what's on the other side of the gap, right? Like, what's on the other side of the bridge? How do I bridge that gap to get to where I want to be? I think that makes a huge difference. And it makes a huge difference in how we show up, right? Because we have the outcome in mind that we're looking for. And when we're looking for that outcome, we will absolutely create it.
Yeah. And
Just
our mind,
always do.
speaking of our mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we tell our mind is like a dog with a bone, right? Okay, this is the bone. Here it is. This is where we're going. This is what we're creating. You might have to remind it. It might get a little squirrel on, brain going. But if you give it that reminder, what am I here to create? What is my real intention here? The mind
Mm-hmm.
will drive towards that and create it. And I do
Absolutely.
100% believe that the mind, with the waves that we have access to, that we don't see, is able to communicate and create things, co-create with the universe, really.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I've
And it's funny
experienced it
when
so
you
many
were
times.
talking about the argument and shifting, right?
Mhm.
So I'm not sure if it was this book or if it was somewhere else, but it was like whoever has the biggest energy in the room,
Mm.
that energy is the room, right? They are the ones who rule the room. They are the ones who run that room. And it's whoever's energy is the biggest in the room runs the room.
That's
So it's
really
like,
good.
let your energy be that big energy and let it be for good, please. You know?
Mhm. Well, and I
Like,
remember, it's so funny that you say that. I remember this point where I realized that I could feel like I was energetically like holding up a dress, like I was like pulling my energy and like holding it, like it
mhm.
was intense, and I was like, wait, let this out, like let it expand, like
Yeah.
feel the fullness of being energetically present and filling space. So I
Mhm.
invite us all to just be with that, our energy, and what is it that what are we doing with it? Like I even remember a time where I was like realizing I was, closing my heart. Like anytime like something intense would happen, I would just feel this like energetic closing, and it was a practice, stay open. And still, there's still things that can trigger those old neural pathways, those
Oh
old
yeah.
wounds that cause me to like energetically pull in. And it's just a practice, staying open, staying energetically like big, like you said, like own the room,
Mhm.
own the space. Ooh,
Owning the
sister.
space. And not only that, but like when you are owning the space, and you just said like you're energetically were kind of wrapping yourself in, right?
Mhm.
When you're energetically open and pouring yourself out, other people want to be a part of that energy, right? Like they
Yeah.
want to be a part of that energy, and they will step their energy up to match yours. They will step their
Mhm.
energy up again. And before you know it, you're not just holding your energy high, but you're holding the whole room high.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
holding the
And
whole room.
yeah. And, as you said, people want to come into that space. So,
Mhm.
as creators and as, bending time and space, creating miracles, really what we're talking about today, it creates a space where the ability to create is then exponential. Because when we are creating alone, it's one, right? But one and one is exponentially greater. So,
Mhm.
the more that we allow that in, and then we invite in people who are up to big games as well, the
Yeah.
miracles and the possibilities and the potential are mind blowing.
I have played the lone wolf game, and I can testify, like I can testify that playing the lone wolf game gets you this much result.
Yeah.
Playing the team game gets you this much result. Like
Yeah.
it is so much different. Like not only is it exponential that you're in creation, but I feel like then like if I add one person, right, that's my exponent. And then she adds a couple people. Well, those are her exponents, but they're my exponents too. And so then we get all of these things that are just expansive, so expansive. And what we create is exponentially great for each of us. And then
For
you're
everyone.
like it's a mushroom cloud of amazingness whenever you
Yeah.
can get a whole team rocking. And it's just like I don't know if I mentioned this before. I was in a container recently that fundraised and created a school in Uganda.
Mhm.
And I remember being a part of like this little bit of a plan. I'm going, okay, yeah, here's what we're gonna do. And I'm like, oh, this is all good and well. And I didn't, and it's wonderful. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely wonderful. But at the same time, when it actually was created, and I'm seeing pictures of the school and kids in the school, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like holy cow, I created that. And it
Yeah.
wasn't just me, obviously. It was me and a whole group of people. But like, whoa, I was part of that. Holy cow. Like the amount of power that you have within you is so minuscule compared to like the power of a huge group of people, right? And then, but when you step back and you take a look at it, like, holy cow, my power was way greater than I even thought. Because not only did we create this school, but we created enrollment with each other, enrollment of other people to do donations and auctions and all of these things that you did to fundraise for this amazing accomplishment. And it's just like, wow. It's something that I don't think I've ever experienced. Until you experience it for yourself, like you don't really truly understand how massive that is. It's just phenomenal. I don't even know that I have the words. Really, it's just like you look at it, you're like, oh, I'm just in overwhelm. It's breathtaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Playing a big game,
amazing.
Really making an impact in the world requires that we play the collective game.
Play the team. And that I think is a really huge shift that's happening when we're shifting out of a divine masculine energy and into a divine feminine energy. It's a collective. It's always a collective with that divine feminine energy. I think it's just, and it's beautiful. I think that's what we get to create in the world now.
100%. 100%. I see the shift happening as well. It's amazing. So let's talk about knowing, because when I hear the word, prior to really understanding or beginning to understand this work, the word knowing to me almost sounds like the opposite of a growth mindset, right? Like I already know, I already know. And that's not what it is, because we definitely, do not ever want to be there. But when there is a deep knowing, there is an anchoring into the intention. There is in my experience of it, it's almost like, speaking of Dr. Joe Dispenza, it's like from head all the way down the spine, holding that clear intention and knowing that it is happening. I've had even moments where someone was sharing something with me that they were up to, and I was just so clear that they were creating it. And the outcome was that, and they were even shocked that they had created it. But it's like when we're in our knowing and we can anchor into it, even if we're not, even if there's doubt, even if there is pieces that we don't know yet, right? Sometimes when we're creating something, or a lot of times when we're creating something, especially if it's big, we don't know all the pieces. We don't know how it's going to happen. If we tried to sit down and plan it out, some of those things that we planned out wouldn't even work out. So we'd have to shift. So it's when we let go of the need to know all the details and we just hold very clearly that this is happening.
So in that version of knowing, it's almost, for me, what I hear when I hear it like that, it's trust. Right? It's trusting that it's already done. That no matter how it ends up looking, right? No matter what path we took to get there, because inevitably the one we plan is not the one we take, right?
Yeah.
No matter what that path is, that how we get there, it's a deep trust that it's already done. And then that we create that knowing. We know it. We've seen it. Like we trust it's already there.
Yeah. And I would encourage everyone, like, practice with the little things. Like
Absolutely.
Really the littlest things. I remember a few years ago when I was really owning my knowing and intention. I was pouring coffee from my French press. And for some reason, it would just kept going everywhere. And I would wake up every morning and I was like, what is happening with this? And then all of a sudden I was like, look, like just hold the intention of like streamlining this, liquid. And I kid you not, like from then on, I would just hold the energy space and it was like vibrationally, it just fell into like the line and poured perfectly. And it was a tiny, tiny moment of practice that allowed me to understand what it feels like to hold an intention and to be in the knowing. Because my mind would want to go, oh, it's gonna go everywhere. It's like my mind would start to tell me like the problem. My mind would start to pull me into, what didn't work. And every time it did, that coffee would go everywhere. It's so crazy how it happens. So practice the tiny things. Like I said, driving in the car and, sometimes I'm behind a slow person and I will just hold the space that, they're going to turn because, wherever
they're going to turn right.
They're going to turn, I'm not even like trying to figure out like where they're turning or when they're turning. I'm like, they're going to turn. And inevitably they will create, very soon after they'll move out of my space and I'll be able to move again. I do it with traffic. I love doing it with traffic and weather. But do it with the little things like something.
I do it with parking spots. Parking spots all the time, man.
Yeah.
I never park far away. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So play with it. What is it? Something little for you that maybe frustrates you, but you're like, I'm going to let go of the frustration. I'm going to hold the clear intention and begin to practice and build that muscle of creating an intention and then hold the knowing. And there's going to be times, especially when, we're practicing where it takes a little bit of time for that to get created, or maybe it doesn't happen the way that you meant it to. Your brain will want to pull you into, I knew that didn't work. I knew I couldn't do it. And then you're back into the frustration, creating a frustrating outcome. So continue it again. It is a practice. So continue to be in the practice of what am I really creating? Getting clear on the intention. Because my goodness, clarity was a big thing for me. That was the first thing that was like, I don't know, could not just create clarity around what I really wanted, but create that clarity, get clear about what you want and hold the intention. And then move forward in the knowing powerfully. You will be surprised at the miracles and the bending of time and space that gets created.
Well, and like you said, it's a practice. And if you have something that comes and doesn't play out the way you thought it should, right? And you give yourself that evidence that it doesn't work, right? Give yourself the evidence that it doesn't work. You think you're looking for evidence. Well, your brain is always looking for evidence of something. Yeah. So if you're focused on your intention, right? If you're focused on, let's say today I'm creating joy. If I'm focused on creating joy, then I'm going to see joy, right? I'm going to find joy. I'm going to seek out, I'm going to look for, and I'm going to find evidence of joy versus I'm creating joy today. Oh, that person's super sad. Oh, this happened to me. Oh, poor me. Oh, poor me. Oh, poor me. Nope, it doesn't work. Because I wasn't focused on the moments within those crummy moments that were joyful, right? Or the opportunity to create joy in a crummy moment. Like that's the big thing right there, is to shift the moment and be like, okay, I get to create joy because that's my intention for today. Yeah. So I can shift that crummy moment into a joyful moment.
Yeah, that's another great way to practice, is just picking something that you want to create energetically that is full, that feels full. And I love that you also talked about, the crummy moments, because this isn't hey, you can live a perfect life with no issues ever, go out and create miracles. It really is, the miracles are amazing and mind-blowing. And it is the crummy moments that teach us, and we will never stop getting life's lessons. That's what we're here for. I mean, we're here to grow. We're here to learn. We're here to become the next level of ourselves. We're here to evolve. So those things never stop happening. Yet when we move through those lessons easily, because like you said, we're, creating joy, and in a crummy moment, we experience joy or the realization of the joy in the moment. We move through those lessons so fluidly, and it looks like it's a perfect life. Like from the outside.
Yes.
It looks like it's perfect. How did your life is perfect, right?
I always look at it like life's a toddler. They're going to test you. Like, that's it. They're toddlers and they're going to test you. And it's, you set the intention to create joy. Are you really sure about that? Let me put this in your pattern. Like, let me put this little thing in your path and see how you really create joy today around that. Right? Like, let me test you and see.
Especially if we need the test, right? Especially if we need the test. We always get the test that we need. So if it's something that, especially in the beginning,
we get to practice. Right? We get the test, so we get to practice.
Yeah. And in the beginning, so just an invitation for everybody in the beginning, when you're creating something that has not shown up in your life before, something new for you, you will get the tests. You will get the things that actually develop those things within you and develop that strength within you. So yes, those tests are here to serve us and to grow us. And just know that when they come, they're teaching you something. So if you pause and you get the lesson really quickly, you can move through it fluidly and easily, and life becomes much more sweet and miraculous.
Yes, one of my favorite quotes is every expert was once a beginner.
Yeah.
And no expert got to be an expert without a lot of practice. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we are going to say goodbye to YouTube today. For those of you watching, share with us what comes up for you. We'd love to hear from you. And definitely, if you're enjoying these conversations, hit subscribe, hang out with us.
Yeah.
And we will see. We will be quiet for next week through the holidays, and we'll be back in January with our new book, which is The Science of Getting Rich for Women.
Ooh,
For women. So there's
exciting. I like it.
Yeah. So there, look for the book that says For Women, The Science of Getting Rich for Women. So that's what we'll be grabbing, and we will be starting in January. So have an amazing